Hello, it's BraceBlogger.com. It is April the 11th, 2018. Today I'm going to read an article from the March 2018 O&amp Almanac Investigating Inserts, Coding and Documentation Guidance for Codes A5512, 5513, and the new K0903. Editor's note on this is readers of reimbursement page are eligible to earn 2 CE credits. After reading this column, simply scan the QR code or use the link on page 19 to take the reimbursement page quiz. Receive a score of at least 80% and AOPA will transmit the information to the certifying boards. Name of the article is Investigating Inserts by Devon Bernard. Code K0903, a new temporary code to describe custom fabricated total contact inserts that are manufactured through a direct milling process, will become active next month for claims with a date of service on or after April 1st. This brings the total number of billable, coverable diabetic inserts to 3. A5512, 13, and K0903. While the K0903 is very new and there are still some things that we don't know regarding the associated fee, now is an appropriate time to review coding and documentation information regarding inserts based on the diabetic shoe policy, as well as coding announcements from the Durable Medical Equipment Medicare Administrative Contractors DME MACs and the Pricing, Data Analysis and Coding PDAC Contractor. Diabetic insert coding. In February 2018, the DME MACs and PDAC issued a correct coding bulletin that updates the diabetic shoe policy and addresses the proper coding of the 3 diabetic shoe inserts, A5512, A5513, and K0903. Code A5512 describes a multi-density prefabricated insert that is directly heat molded to the patient's foot to meet the plantar surface of the foot and also has the following characteristics. Is direct, formed by molding to the beneficiary's foot with an external heat source of 230 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. Has total contact with the beneficiary's foot including the arch. As a base layer that has a minimum of 1/4 inch material of Shore A35 durometer or 3/16 inch material of Shore A40 durometer or higher. Has the specified thickness of the base layer extending from the heel through the distal metatarsals. May be absent at the toes. Retains its shape during use for the life of the insert. In addition, any insert being billed as A5512 must be reviewed by the PDAC and placed on the product classification list. If a prefabricated insert is not listed on the product classification list, it must be coded as A9270, non-covered. Codes A5513 and K0903 describe custom fabricated inserts and are very similar in that they share the same following characteristics. Is a multiple density insert. Is made from basic materials. Has total contact with beneficiary's foot including the arch and conforms to the plantar surface. Has a base layer that has a minimum 3/16 inch material of Shore A35 durometer. The central portion of the heel may not be less than 1/16 inch thick. Has the specified thickness of the base layer extending from the heel through the distal metatarsals. May be absent at the toes. Has a heat moldable top layer and may be of a lower durometer. Retains its shape during use for the life of the insert. The difference between codes A5513 and K0903 is the fabrication method used. The A5513 is molded to a specific beneficiary using a physical model, and the K0903 is directly milled from a beneficiary-specific rectified digital virtual model. This means that if the fabrication process involves a direct scan of the patient's foot or an indirect scan of the foot via a mold made by the patient's foot, that is, crush boxes, or even a scan of a model directly made from a mold, and then the scanned digital virtual model is rectified using computer-aided manufacturing equipment to directly carve or mill a unique custom fit insert for the particular patient, then it is considered a K0903, a direct milled insert. K0903 does not describe therapeutic shoe inserts created using manufacturing techniques such as 3D printing or similar processes. The correct coding bulletin also indicates that the PDAC coding redetermination review project, which was initially announced in August 2017 and scheduled to be completed by June 1st, 2018, has been extended to a new completion date of August 1st, 2018, to allow manufacturers and central fabricators additional time to submit applications for their respective products. All diabetic inserts billed to the Medicare using A5513 or K0903 must be listed on the PDAC product classification list no later than August 1st, 2018. Direct milled inserts described by K0903 must be billed using K0903 for dates of service on or after April 1st, 2018. The effective date of the code, regardless of how they are currently listed on the PDAC product classification lists. Inserts that are not included on the PDAC list by August 1st, 2018 must be coded as A9270 and will be considered non-covered by Medicare. Even though it was not directly expressed, it is believed that the same rules for PDAC coding verification of A5513 would apply to the K0903. Inserts that are custom fabricated by a manufacturer, central fabrication facility, and then sent to someone other than the beneficiary must be listed by the PDAC if they are to be billed. However, if the inserts are custom fabricated from raw materials that are dispensed directly to the beneficiary by the supplier that fabricated the inserts do not have to be listed on the PDAC list. The supplier, however, must provide a list of the materials that the policy article for diabetic shoes is fairly vague on the use of toe fillers. It simply states, inserts for missing toes or partial foot amputation should be coded L5000 or 5999, whichever is applicable. However, the DME MACs have issued more in-depth guidance regarding the proper coding of toe fillers and diabetic shoe inserts. In short, the guidance informs providers and suppliers that a patient cannot receive both custom diabetic shoe inserts, 5513, and a partial foot toe filler, L5000, on the same foot. The patient would receive one or the other, and the proper coding depends on the need of the patient. If the patient has diabetes and is missing toes or the forefoot and doesn't require any extra rigidity or toe-off support for an improved gait, then the insert must be coded as 5513. The custom fabrication nature of the code would include the additional material needed to create a toe filler. L5000 describes a shoe insert with a rigid longitudinal arch support with additional soft material added where contact is made with the residual limb toes, and is designed to provide standing balance and toe-off support for improved gait. So if the patient has diabetes and is missing the hallux or a forefoot that would require additional rigidity and support for an effective gait, then the L5000 must be used instead of the A5513. At the present time, this guidance announcement has not been updated to reflect the release of the new custom fabricated code K0903, but it would be safe to assume that the same rules would apply. If you are providing a direct milled insert to a patient who has diabetes and is missing toes or the forefoot and who doesn't require any extra rigidity or toe-off support for an improved gait, then the insert must be coded K0903. Documentation in the certifying physician's record. In addition to documenting and certifying that the patient requires a pair of shoes and that the patient has one of the approved diagnoses of diabetes mellitus, the certifying physician must document two key aspects of the patient's condition and treatment plan, which are components of the certifying statement. First, the certifying physician must document that the patient has one or more of the 6 approved secondary foot conditions: previous amputation of the other foot or part of either foot, history of previous foot ulceration of either foot, history of pre-ulcerative calluses on either foot, peripheral neuropathy with evidence of callus formation of either foot, foot deformity of either foot, or poor circulation in either foot. The certifying physician may complete this documentation directly, or someone else could handle it. For example, the podiatrist ordering the shoes could be responsible for the diagnosis of the secondary foot condition, or it could be the responsibility of a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant. If one of these other approved individuals completes the documentation of the secondary foot condition, he or she must forward a copy of the documentation to the certifying physician. The certifying physician then must review, initial, and date the findings indicating his or her agreement. Remember that the date the certifying physician initials the documentation must be prior to the date he or she signs the certifying statement, and it must be within 6 months prior to the initial delivery of the shoes and inserts. Second, the certifying physician, and only the certifying physician, the medical doctor or doctor of osteopathic medicine, must document that he or she is currently treating the patient under a comprehensive plan of care for diabetes. There is no one approved or recognized treatment plan. All that is required is that the physician has documented that he or she has discussed the patient's current condition and the patient's current treatment plan, as well as the way the patient is to manage his or her diabetes. This documentation must be completed during an in-person visit with the patient, which must take place within 6 months prior to the initial delivery of the shoes and inserts. While it is not mandatory, during this in-person visit, the physician may choose to sign or complete a certifying statement. However, if the physician doesn't sign the statement during the in-person visit, he or she must sign it within 3 months before delivery of the shoes and inserts. Even though the physician has signed the certifying statement, the above information still needs to be documented in the record. Policy is clear that the certifying statement by itself is not enough to establish medical necessity. The information must also be documented in the certifying physician's record. Also, once signed, the certifying statement is valid for 12 months after it is signed. But once signed, the initial delivery of the shoes and inserts must take place within 3 months of the delivery. If the delivery takes longer than 3 months, then you would need to have a new certifying statement completed and checked to make sure the approved documentation is still timely. Documentation in the supplier's record. There are 2 key pieces of information that must be included in the supplier's record. First, the supplier must conduct and document an in-person evaluation of the patient prior to the patient selecting shoes and inserts. Thus, you must document that prior to the patient selecting his or her shoes, you took and recorded all linear measurements of the patient's foot. This requires more than simply stating that the patient is size X. You will want to document the abnormalities that need to be accommodated by the shoes, especially if you are providing custom shoes, inserts, because if you are providing custom shoes or inserts, the nature and severity of the deformity must be well documented. Second, you must conduct and document an in-person evaluation at the time of delivery of the patient wearing the shoes and document that the shoes fit properly. This evaluation must be as objective as possible and cannot be solely based on subjective statements made by the patient, such as, quote, "they are too tight," unquote. This in-person requirement means that you may not mail shoes to a patient. You may not leave shoes with a patient in a facility unless the patient tries them on in your presence. Understanding the coding and documentation rules for codes A5512, A5513, and K0903 will help you provide the most appropriate diabetic inserts for your patients and ensure that you are reimbursed for your efforts. The article by Devon Bernard is AOPA's Assistant Director of Coding and Reimbursement Services, Education and Programming. Reach him at dbernard@aopanet.org and try to take advantage of the opportunity to earn 2 CEE credits today. Take the quiz by scanning the QR code here on page 19 to earn CE credits for ABC and BOC.